So now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome Britt Calvert, Vice President with Ipsos Innovation Practice. Britt, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ellen. So appreciate all of you joining us today. And as mentioned, my name is Britt Calvert. I've had the privilege of working with Ipsos for about 13 years now, and my passion and my professional focus has consistently been in the area of package testing, working across many clients and many categories. And I've been surprised in the last decade how I still continue to learn new things every day as the landscape around packaging development always seems to be changing. So appreciate that you're going to take some time with me today to talk about that landscape. We're going to start by talking about that landscape, actually, but then we're going to transition into an overview of our FastPack solution, as well as we'll get the chance to experience a live demo of that solution so you can all see just how quick and easy it is to do this type of research by yourselves, or hopefully with me, either way. And time permitting, we should have time. There will be a few question and answer session at the end, as Ellen said. So I will not be on camera for the entirety of this presentation, but did just want to say hi and let you all know who will be talking at you for the next small bit of time. So with that, today's discussion will center around the critical aspect of packaging evaluation, but as many of you already know, Ipsos Innovation works all across your innovation cycle, right? It can be at the earliest stages of ideation, comprehensive product and package testing, all the way through forecasting. And in doing so, we use consistent metrics throughout. Of course, today we're going to be focusing on packaging evaluation, and determined to help our clients operate faster and more efficiently, we've developed an innovative and kind of new digitally focused market research platform, which is called Ipsos Digital. So this intuitive platform puts all of our rapid market research right at your fingertips without compromising on all of the Ipsos standards of rigor and insights-based results that you've come to trust and depend on. So our FastPack today is going to be our spotlight. This is the latest addition to Ipsos Digital, but it's worth noting that this is not a new tool. It's something we've been doing for years now and has proven results, but we're really excited about the advancements we've made in terms of getting it on this platform so that it's more accessible and easy and cost efficient to run. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit first, though, about the kind of changing landscape of packaging in general. So over the last few years, especially, I think we can all agree that packaging must continue to rise to the occasion and work harder than it ever has before. And there's a few reasons for this. One being that people are changing, right? Our attention spans, unfortunately, or fortunately, I suppose, depending on your perspective, are shorter than ever before, which means us as marketers, we only have seconds to secure a sale. In addition, we know that consumers are more interconnected than ever before, whether it be online often, meaning that companies have less and less control over their own branding and communications, as a lot of those conversations are happening in places where we don't have control. So we as people are changing, but of course, so are the places in which we shop, right? Categories increasingly are becoming more and more fragmented, which makes it harder to stand out on shelves, but also, especially in a post-pandemic world, e-commerce and mobile shopping are the new normal, right? Which means that packages need to work just beyond the brick and mortar shelf. So as a result, it's absolutely crucial to adapt your packaging approach to capture attention, engage consumers, and ultimately win in the market. And what this means is that manufacturers need to continuously audit and improve their packaging assets. However, we all know that changing the status quo inherently introduces the risk of failure, right? I'm not going to remind you of a certain famous or infamous case study involving a fruit juice and their packaging, but as a result, many marketers approach packaging renovation with what I'll call a glass half empty approach, meaning they're focused on mitigating risk rather than adding real value to their franchise through their packaging innovation and renovation. And as a result of that, most pack redesigns can be considered evolutionary rather than revolutionary in nature. And this is primarily because brands, and especially established brands, they don't want to alienate consumers. So as a kind of fun example, if we look at this Nivea cream packaging from 1925, it is almost instantly recognizable for those of us who know the product today, right? And just by making these subtle changes over time, it can be a really effective way of managing pack changes because consumers who are currently buying your product are able to easily find your product and shop in kind of an automatic way. And their positive opinions really aren't going to change substantially as a result of these incremental pack changes. And if you're the market leader, this likely means that your redesign is successful, right? You're retaining all of those consumers. However, it can also limit growth potential because non-buyers of your brand likely aren't going to be noticing these subtle tweaks. And even if they do, their opinions and perceptions of your product, your package, your brand likely won't change. And as a result, they're going to continue to buy whatever product they're already using. Yet, we know an exceptional pack will pay off. Said differently, in order to make major gains in sales, it really takes a pretty significant change in packaging. So based upon research we've conducted, if a pack achieves high standout, it can boost trial for that product by upwards of 20%. And this only takes into account visual changes, which I think is really worth noting. Structural, functional changes can mean even more conversion if done well. And if we consider this change in trial over a package's lifetime, this could mean millions of dollars that we're leaving on the table just by kind of playing things a little close in. So this begs the question, of course, what makes for a real change in packaging? And we've conducted analysis on our database of packaging shelf tests, looking at over 30 different design characteristics and various marketing variables. And ultimately, we found that design quality can be summarized into 6 main themes. The most important theme is having some obvious, recognizable brand assets. So this might be your logo, or it might be an icon on pack. But this is definitely going to impact your presence at shelf. The next most important component is shape, often meaning that in the context of the category, your packaging shape is distinct and different versus others. And finally, we have other factors which are important, but relatively less so than these top 2 factors. And those are things like simplicity of your package, the color of your package, brightness and contrast relative to the category. And combined, all of these assets are the building blocks to developing distinct visual assets for your brand. In addition, what we know is that while aesthetics are important, great packaging is not necessarily just a beauty contest, right? It's great if consumers like the design you've created, but ultimately it isn't success unless that pack is going to sell your products. As a result, it is absolutely essential to capture measures that track to in-market potential and not just those that we often see in surveys. And the way that we do this is by leaning on Ipsos legacy in forecasting. We have metrics that are focused specifically on sales and are actually validated against in-market sales, layering on real consumer behavior whenever possible. And so differently, we want to help you put your best pack forward. And with FastPack, the goal is to move forward confidently without stalling your development process. What fuels FastPack is a true B-side focus. We do use response time to reveal the conviction that underlies consumer opinions. And additionally, FastPack includes gamified cognitive load tasks, which are an element that's meant to mimic the distraction that often comes along with real shopping experiences. In addition, FastPack places your design amidst the competitive environment in order to appropriately prime the consumer and really just ensure that we capture true reactions within your industry context. Moreover, FastPack is not just fast, but it really is accurate and validated. We've discussed how our KPIs are absolutely not only focused on sales, but validated to do so. But we also do provide granular diagnostics to drive optimization and really help your pack be its best version of itself. But I think probably most exciting to many of us is that it is fast, right? So while FastPack isn't necessarily a new methodology, as I stated, it is now newly accelerated thanks to our Ipsos digital platform. This means that you can get data back in as little as 4 hours with our self-service option, which we'll be kind of walking through later. And it's also extremely cost-effective with a starting price of around $3,500 per pack, though of course you can imagine if we're testing multiple packs, there are often efficiencies there. So let's look under the tool a bit and see what the tool provides. As I mentioned, FastPack uses an intuitive and gamified experience that encourages quick and realistic reactions, which are very important when we're looking only at packaging, which has just seconds to stand out in a real shopping experience. So to offer an early read on whether your new design changes will be a success at shelf or a risk at shelf, we provide a competitive clutter, which mimics an e-commerce scrolling experience to understand how your pack routes are able to break through other packages in your category. We then focus on those metrics we know to drive in-market potential to help us prioritize the packs not only against each other, but also offer an understanding of their performance versus your competitors. Moreover, we look to grasp every ounce of consumer feedback, putting respondents through an interactive highlighting exercise. So this really allows them to pinpoint and leave feedback on specific areas of the pack that they like, dislike, or find particularly unique. And finally, because a primary goal of packaging is to impact perceptions not only of the product, but also of the brand as a whole, you can fully customize a list of attributes, including functional, emotional, and personality attributes, to identify explicit as well as implicit shifts in key brand perceptions. So from this survey flow, we get a holistic understanding of the pack's performance, right? From that clutter reel exercise I mentioned, we capture whether your brand is remembered. This is truly a proxy for standout and reflects whether consumers, firstly, paid attention to your pack, and secondly, whether they linked it back to your brand, identifying any potential risk to brand attribution. From there, our pack composite index will tell you not only which pack has the highest potential for success, but also how it compares back to the thousands of packs we've tested previously. This can really help for lending additional confidence and kind of how we answer the question, how good is good enough, knowing that your package won't exist in a vacuum. In addition, we create heat maps from our interactive highlighting exercise. So this really pinpoints specific elements which are working for your pack and aren't, and their feedback can serve as an invaluable guide for tweaking, refining, and enhancing your designs. And lastly, but certainly not the least, we address associations with both, as I mentioned, explicit agreement as well as the time it took them to agree. This can help fine-tune the emotive and psychological impact of your packaging and making sure you're moving in the right direction for your brand. So what comes from this is a holistic understanding of what to do next, ensuring that you're able to make bold design decisions. So with that, we're going to enter the demo. And on my side, I'm going to make a note of the time, which is 12:18 currently, because I like to time myself and see how quickly I'm able to set up this research. So in a world where you're going to be doing this research on your own, what you could do is visit our Ipsos digital site at ipsos.digital. And here with top billing is our FastPack product. I've gone ahead and started to set up my own study, which we'll walk through today. And for the purposes of our time today, we'll be testing a variety of canned ready-to-drink coffee drinks. We'll be testing those in the United States. There happens to be 4 of them. We will select our category. And we can define either specific target audiences or go towards more of a general population, which I will be doing here. For my needs, I don't have any specific gender or age group breaks, though know that our platform does account for these. And we'll choose an incidence for our category. In my case, it's around 40%, so I'll select that. I'm testing a new brand, though it's worth noting that this platform can accommodate new brands as well as line extensions or brand packaging relaunches, renovations. And we also have a few options for the type of methodology we'd like to use, whether we'd like that to be a monadic exposure with people only seeing 1 package each, all the way up to each person seeing 3 packages. Because I'm pretty early stage in my development process, I'm going to go ahead and select this sequential 3 option. From there, you'll notice that on the right side of the screen, it's going to populate with specific timing for your data delivery as well as your price. All of this updates in real time, which is super handy for understanding what kind of financial and time commitment you're in for. I am checking the project here. And good news, we're feasible. So let's go ahead and continue. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how quick and simple it is to include even custom screening questions. In the case that you wanted to include things, you'd be able to add them here, whether this is around brand usage or anything like that. In our case, however, we're going to stick to a general sample. So the brand for my study is called Café Maison, and I will label it as such, but this can be your initiative name, whatever you'd like. And as I mentioned, we are testing in the category of ready-to-drink coffees, looking specifically for those who have consumed this within the last 6 months. The way that this automatic screening works is by bringing in users of the category. And in order to do that, we also will include some filler categories. I'm including other beverages, and for something useful later in the day, I'll include wine as my last filler category. So in addition, we not only capture whether people are involved in the category, but also what brands they have consumed. So the test brand is always going to be your brand name, the name of the package we are testing. In addition, you'll notice throughout that you are encouraged to enter not only competitors, but what we call a main competitor. And this is because within the standard flow of the survey, you'll collect not only ratings for your brand, but also for that main competitor brand. And this is the basis of our databasing approach, understanding the shifts versus that primary competitor. After you've included the other brands you'd like to include in that screener, we'll go ahead and input the attributes that we'd like to associate with this package. So as we mentioned, these can be a wide variety of functional attributes. They can be personality attributes. They can be related to the pack design itself. The one important thing to keep in mind is because we're asking not only agreement with these, but capturing the time associated with agreement, it is important to keep these relatively short. And the platform will stop you if it thinks these are too long so that we can make the best use of that time data. In addition, it will ask you to describe the category penetration within the US. I know that this is about 40% of households. This will be important when it comes to our modeling on the back end. This will help define the market structure, which feeds into the way that we predict sales potential. From there, we start to upload our packages. A really cool feature of this tool is that while often we might be just testing a single SKU, if a SKU exists within a lineup of products, say various varieties, what we can do is allow for up to 3 packages to be shown side by side, and that will only count as one design route. This is really helpful if you're planning a packaging launch or relaunch that spans multiple varieties. In our case, however, we have just the one pack, and the way that this gets uploaded is directly from your PC. And for each image you upload, you will give it a title that will end up being the title seen in your final report. I'm going to go ahead and take care of this for all of our 4 test packages. As well as our main competitor. These will pop in automatically to help us create that clutter reel. So in order to ensure that we have some good representation of the category as well as some good masking of our test products, we should always have at least 5 items in this clutter reel. And the nice thing about this is it also allows you to view what that clutter reel is going to look like for respondents so that we're able to see if there is any adjustments we need to make to these images. So one thing I might know is that this competitive image has a gray background. That may lead to stronger memorability for this pack, not necessarily because of its design, but because of this gray background. This is a good clue to me that I should either look for a different pack rendering that has a white background, or I could reach out to my design team or our friendly folks at the Ipsos design team to help ensure that all of our stimulus have a similar level of finish. So after I've created, it's called a shelf here, but really that clutter reel, we'll then proceed to identify those zones that we want for our interactive highlighter exercise. So I'm going to go ahead and add a zone. This is a fairly simple package, so we won't have too many, but I'm going to go ahead and zone off the logo, as well as, let's, in this case, say the lid of the product, the variety, as well as the size. A handy tool that you'll note is when I have overlapped these zones, it turns orange to just alert me that there is some overlap here. It is not a best practice to overlap zones because we don't want to encourage any respondent confusion. So I would then go through and do the same for each of my other designs. For the sake of time, I'm just going to capture one zone per pack, though of course best practice is to make sure you're zoning off all relevant components. All right, we are now at the portion of the platform where we're able to add custom questions. So there's a few things to note. We have a lot of flexibility in terms of the custom questions we can answer. So for instance, we can add questions either before or after the core survey. And in this case, we might add something like, which types of coffee do you regularly drink? In this case, we want to allow people to answer any number of items that are relevant. And we can insert answers easily from a list. This would allow consumers to select any of these. We also have the ability to randomize and rotate selections. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. But in addition to asking things before the core survey gets started, I might want to ask a question after the core survey. This is really useful if we want to ask questions either for all of our packages. We might add a custom question related to purchase intent. For individual questions, if there's perhaps claims on specific packages, so this question might only be relevant to some, or we can ask this only once at the end of the study. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and for all pack designs, I'm going to add a purchase intent question. This is only a single response allowed. I will pop in my statements and save this. So as we see, it is now about 12:30, which means within 12 minutes, we've set up a study of 4 cells that we can go ahead and launch to have results back in 2 days and for about $13,000. Just pretty exciting stuff, considering the flexibility allowed with this tool. So I'm going to pop back into screen show mode. And with that, with the end of our demo, that means it's now time for any questions you may have. I'm going to go ahead and look here in our chat box. And okay, this question is, do you capture purchase intent? I imagine related to that custom question we answered. And what's important to note is that purchase intent can absolutely be included as a custom question within FastPack, but it isn't a standard part of our methodology, which is perhaps different to some others. And this is because we really rely on metrics we have found to better predict in-market success. So for instance, relevance and differentiation combined. When we combine those and look at products that have high relevance, high differentiation, those products are 54% more likely to offer higher than average trial as compared to only 34% of innovations with strong purchase intent. So to summarize, yes, we can definitely include that and whatever other metrics your organization needs to make a decision, but it won't necessarily be the basis of our recommendation if you choose to work with us. And related to that question, is this DIY? And that's a very important question because while our Ipsos digital tool absolutely allows for self-service research to give the best timelines as well as the lowest costs, there's a multitude of ways that you and your teams can work with us. That might mean what we call researcher assisted, so having us set up a program study for you, where then you download the standardized output. Or of course, we can always continue to work with a fully customized, what we refer to as manual study, meaning we do all of the heavy lifting, all of the execution, and all of the analysis as well. So I think with that, we've covered everything I wanted to cover today. Again, I truly appreciate all of you taking the time to be here. And if you have any questions after this webinar, please feel free to reach out to me or to your typical Ipsos contact, and we'd love to set up a personalized demo for you. Know that this session has been recorded, and that recording you should see coming in a few days. Again, I appreciate everybody's time and hope you have a wonderful day.